Witness TV.
Hello viewers, you're most welcome to another episode of Soaring with Eagles. My name is Pastor Joy Kihuguru, and today we have an amazing guest. She is a senior citizen in this country. She's a politician by calling, and she's also a lawyer by profession. She's a wife, a mother, and a grandmother of many. You're most welcome, Honorable Dr. Miria Matembe.
Thank you very much. And one missing gap is that I'm a child of God. I
Amen.
love the Lord
Amen.
with all my heart.
Yes. So, Honorable Matembe, of course, we know you're retired right now. You've been retired for quite a while.
But not tired, eh?
But not tired.
Yes.
You don't look it at all. So we would like you to tell us your story, because I know that many viewers out there would want to know about this Honorable Dr. Miria Matembe. Where did you start from? Can you tell us a bit about your family background?
Well, thank you very much. I have sung this story so many times and I documented it, but anytime I'm given opportunity to share it again, I am very happy because, of course, like you have heard, I'm a senior citizen now. I shared the story when I was still young, but now so many people have been born and raised up, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to once again share my story. You are talking of, Miria Matembe. You had Rukoza. Miria Matembe, Rukoza Kovrunga. Matembe is this acquired name from where I married.
Okay.
That is the name of my husband, but my original name, of course, is Miria Kovrunga. And then my father was Rukoza. So those are the names that I carry. Now, this Miria Kovrunga was born in a very low, poor peasantry family at Rutoma with Wera Kashari. My parents were peasants, and we were 9 siblings. By that time I grew up with 8 siblings because I'm their sister now. But the boys were 5, the girls were 4. Unfortunately, many boys parted long ago. I'm remaining with only the big brother, who is very, very sick now. I think he's 8 years now. But we lost only one girl, actually our youngest girl, but otherwise with the 3 girls, the big girl is alive, the young girl, and me, I'm in the middle. So we grew in that family of peasants where my parents were peasants, and we had, of course, very hard time growing in a rural area, but life was better than now, I can assure you. Because if life that time was as bad as now, I would never have been raised up, because I grew up because of the economic environment. Although we peasants were not able to manage, but we could strive and manage. There was no such level of poverty that sends people into begging like now. And in fact, I had never seen any grown-up people begging, irrespective of the poor in relation to those who had. You know, poverty did not mean being just a dog to beg and like things appear now, but it meant that you were of a lower caliber than the higher ones. And let me tell you, by then, the higher people, the children who were, rich, and we considered rich and very well off, were the children of the teachers. We are the headmasters, we are the Saza chiefs, county chiefs, parish chiefs, nurses, Otherwise, which other people did we know? Ministers or what? No. In the village where we lived, in the community, those were the richer people. So here we were, growing up in that community with these who have and they have not. But they have not still had their plantation. They could plant their beans. They could get their food. There was no stealing of land. The things were good, I would say. Nevertheless, they were tough because if you didn't have school fees, then you would not study.
So how did you
but
manage
now,
to go through?
What I want to say is that I want to thank my parents because they considered it important to put girls in school. Because at that time, girls were not going to school. There was discrimination, clear discrimination against girls in favor of boys. And I even used to hear my father saying that my mother refused to produce children. Mark, you were 9. He said, my mother refused to produce and she just produced girls. And yet the girls were 4 and the boys were 5. Those are the kind of things that influenced my direction as to where to be whom I became. So now, most of the girls in the village who were not children of teachers or what, they were not going to school. But I want to thank God that for me, my father loved education. So he gave all of us opportunity, boys and girls, to go to school. Nevertheless, there was discrimination. Because I was following a boy. My mother used to have alternative, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, up to the end. So I was following my brother, the boy. So we would, whenever we would go to school and there are no school fees, they would send you away. His school fees would be found immediately. But mine would take like a week or 2 weeks or a month. Now, that's not, as if that was not enough. Anytime my mother would go to a market or to fellowship, she was a born-again Christian, Friday afternoon, they go to fellowship. That means those days or times, I would not go to school. And yet my brother would go to school because I would keep children, my siblings. But this thing rose a question in my heart. But why? Why is it that for me, I don't go and for him, he goes to school? But nobody was there to answer me. But it was disturbing me in my mind. I saw it as unfair. This is not right. Anyway, it went on. And at one stage, my brother was in primary 6. And I was in primary 5. Now, he failed and repeated primary 6. When he repeated, I found him there in primary 6. I studied with him. You cannot. My not attending all classes notwithstanding, for him he repeated, who was given the opportunity, but me, I found him there and we went to P7.
So you were performing
And when
very
we
well.
reached P7, I passed in 1st grade, and for him he got 2nd grade. So when he got 2nd grade, he had to repeat. But anyway, before that story of repeating and so on, because this thing was disturbing me very much and I was inquiring why, I came to know that those are girls and women are treated like that, as if they are not human beings. And then when I was 9 years, I remember something happened in our village. I think they killed a man, and those days dying was not imaginable. But somebody, I think, killed a person, and people were gathering in the community around, talking, feeling sad. And so they were saying, anyway, she is going to buy a pleader. Naza gura pleader in my language.
Pleader is
that
a lawyer.
You buy a pleader. Then I said, pleader? Who is a pleader? What is a pleader? Asking as a 9-year-old child. They said a pleader is one who pleads for others. He pleads for others. I said, what does he have to know to plead? They said they study law. They are lawyers. I said, wait a minute. When I grow up, I'll become a pleader and plead for girls and women who are discriminated against. I can't take you into the story of women, but I could see women coming before my mother crying. You know, she was a leader. They would tell their stories. They are crying. I mean, it came to me that girls and women are not treated well.
They're discriminated.
And so I made up my mind that I will plead for them. So we reached P7.
Yes.
I passed in first grade. They call me to Weranyang Senior Secondary School. My brother repeats. Now, when I'm going to Senior 2, I had gone to Senior 2. The results come. My brother has passed. And you know what happened? My mother comes to withdraw me from school. My father had sent him, you go and get her from school to go and study teaching. Because teaching, there was Kakoba Teacher Training College where the primary teaching, but they were not paying school fees. So they said they should come and pick me
And take you to
and
Kakoba.
take me to Kakoba, and the boy continues to senior.
So what did
I
you
said,
do?
why? I said, headmistress. But how? I can't go. I want to study law. I don't want to study teaching. They didn't know what I wanted, what I had made up my mind anyway. Then the headmistress, imagine she was a woman. She said, you see, Miss Kovurunga, you've got to be sympathetic. You've got to understand your parents can't have school fees for 2 children. I said, excuse me. Why don't they take this boy to Kakoba and me who is already in senior 2 continue to study? He said, well, it is their choice. And you know, the thing really killed me because I said, look here, this is a person who is already proving very bright and able and capable. But because she is a girl, she should be stopped from pursuing her desire or her will for the sake of a boy. I said, Mommy, I don't you know, I told Miss Hall, but what about bursary? I hear people get bursary. He said, you can get it from the district education officer in Mbarara. That was Ushenyi that time. I asked my mother, do you know, can you take me to district education officer? Mark you, this is a village rural woman. She said, I can take you, but I can't speak English. I said, you go, you take me. I will go and speak English for myself. By then I was 14 years.
Wow.
And I went. It's a long story. We must finish. I sat outside the education office. We didn't know how to enter and how to get out. Until at the end, I saw this man walking out with a friend. I think they were going for lunch. Then he stood. When I saw him, I stood up. I told my mother. Then he stood up. He said, Madam, asking my mother, what can I do for you? I said, sir, I want fees. I want school fees. I want this before. He left the friend. He said goodbye because I broke down and cried, and he took me to the office.
So that's how you ended up getting the bursary.
I explained my case, and she said, when he said, okay, go back to school, I'll get back to the headmistress. I told my mother, you go back home. They said I should go to school, and within less than a week, the good news came. The woman who came to tell me go home, the headmistress, she came excited telling me you have a bursary.
So that was all through your
and let me tell you, that's why I cry out. I cry. Many young women in this country who would have been vibrant, who would have earned pursued their passion and their vision. But because of no bursary, because of no care for those people, now that is happening in this country, we are losing them. Because the country would have lost me.
Yes.
And whoever impact I have made in this country and beyond in Africa, you know, the world, because in 1998 actually I was awarded as one of 100 women heroines world over who have made a tremendous impact on the lives of girls and women. You can imagine if I didn't get that. And secondly, if God had not created a passion in my heart to fight for equality, justice, and fairness. That's why I tell people, each person God created for a specific purpose. And if God, by His grace, puts that purpose in your heart and you pursue it, He is able to make you realize your purpose. Right. He did. So I finished. I studied law. I finished HSC. And my father, by the way, kept fighting me because when I went to study HSC, when I went to study law, He told me when they called me at Mackay, he said, you cannot study law. You're not a girl. These women listening to me, these days, you see them studying every course and enjoying it. They don't know it was because of our struggle. We had to fight for this. Because in fact, I'm one of the 3 women lawyers in the whole of Ankole. We were the first 3 women lawyers in the whole of Ankole. One was the late Margaret Tibechinga Chireju, who died when she was a judge of the High Court, and then Connie Byamujisha, the sister of Kategaya. She also passed on when she was a judge. So I'm one who, for me, I stood up, I wanted to plead, and up to now, I'm still pleading for equality, justice, and fairness. So my father said, no, you can't study law. Not in my house, I will ostracize you. I said, why? You man. Why? Because girls could not study law. Who? A girl? This was in 1973, the time I'm talking about. A girl studying law, moreover, a rural girl. And then I said, okay, can I study medicine? She said, no. I said, then I should be a doctor. I said, no, you can only be a nurse. So I said, you. After all, she had not paid school fees for me. I had got my bursary. So I said, this man, if he ostracizes me, I will go and study law. He will not depend on me because he will not have what? Paid school fees for me, and he would have chased me away from his house. But I told him, you know what? I'm not the one who called myself. Yes. You go to the headmaster of Makerere University. Of course, I said headmaster because did he know chancellor and vice chancellor? I said, you go to Makerere and tell the headmaster that you don't want me to study law. But did he know where to go to Makerere? He didn't, so he rested his case, and that's how I was able to study law. And since people are listening to me, especially young girls, I tell them, when you have a dream, they are dream killers. They are dream killers. You find them on the way they want to snatch your dream. But when you persist, God puts a way for you to realize that dream. Because for sure, he even persisted. I even studied law. And for me, let me tell you, my dear Joy, I have been people talk of resistance movement. Which movement? Me, I started resisting the wrong, the unfairness, the inequalities when I was a young girl. I started, and I will continue to resist. That's why I resist the wrong, the corruption, the evil, the wickedness in this country. And it is because of that resistance that I was thrown out of my job, and I'm in the hands of God serving his purpose. Now that is education. Of course, eventually education, I finished, I studied law. And when I finished studying law, I went to DPP department. When I reached there, my first job, injustices that were going on, I could not stand them. Because in DPP's office, you catch thieves, you catch criminals. And you'll find a criminal who has stolen a chicken because children are hungry, and the woman steals matoke, a bunch of matoke, neighbor. They come, they are arrested, and they go to court, prison, and they bring them to court. And then those rich people who have broken into banks and stolen billions, they would be given bail because they have sureties, and yet this poor woman or man would rot in prison. I said no. I studied law to fight for justice. I cannot be the one executing injustice and fairness. So I left the DPP department and I went to teach law.
Why did you leave? Because you felt that there was injustice.
I thought when I studied law, I would be pleading for equality, justice, and fairness. And I find myself in the Ministry of Justice, in the department of DPP. I'm the one to prosecute the criminals. And when I go to prosecute them, I find some of these criminals, it is no poverty and that kind of thing. And then the treatment, they say bring surety, bring so much money the fellow doesn't have. Then those who have robbed, who have murdered people, who are greedy, who have done evil, much evil things, they have sureties, they have money for bail, they release them, and I'm seeing those being released and this one was staying in prison. I say, excuse me, I didn't come to prosecute injustice. So I left, I went to teach law. So I started teaching law. I first taught at Uganda, it was called Uganda College of Commerce, MUBS. I was teaching the institute of the course leading to ACCA and ICSA. I was teaching them the general principles of law. And then down the road, 5 years, I went to the Chartered Institute of Bankers, which was managing and running a course for Uganda certificate in banking. So I was employed by the Central Bank of Uganda as a lecturer in law and English, and seconded to the Institute of Bankers. When I had worked there for 5 years,
was that when you decided to get into politics?
Yes, and that takes me back now to how my dream was enlarged. When I went to study HSC, I started studying British parliamentary history. So I studied history, economics, and what? Literature, history, and economics. And so we studied British parliamentary history. And I would see his lordship, lord, whatever, the MP as he then was, and how they were debating in parliament. I said, wait a minute. Kumbe the law, which why I wanted to study the law. I wanted to see the law. What is the law saying about women and girls? If it is not saying the right thing, I would go to change it. If I would, by then I didn't know that I could change it, but I would go to women and shout and call them, women, come out. We are being cheated. Come, and we refuse. All along I was a child. That's what was in my mind. I wanted to get a platform where I would stand like the platform of Beatitude of Mountain of Beatitude there, where Jesus stood. And I wanted to stand and say, women, come, we are cheated. Let us refuse. But then when I reached HSC, then I learned that the law is made in parliament. So when I study and I find it's not good, I'll go to parliament and change it. And so that's when my idea of getting to parliament came, when I was in HSC. And of course, when I went and studied law, I found that of course it was not good. So there was a need for me to change the law. But then by the time I went to Makerere, that's when Amin had overthrown government. So there was no parliament, it was dictatorship. So I couldn't. When I finished, that's why I went to DPP, then I went to Nakawa to teach. Then so I missed out to going to change the law. So in the meantime, second Obote came, and the environment was so bad. They were killing people. I could not just go into that politics. So I didn't go into politics. And that's when my people, yes, I was teaching. I was at the Institute of Bankers in 1982. I went to the Institute of Bankers in 1982, and so I was teaching. And then people went to the bush. Of course, I couldn't go to the bush. By then I had married, by the way. I married when I was finishing my second year at Makerere. And by the time I finished Makerere, I had my firstborn. So I couldn't go to the bush. My babies were there, and I didn't even know where.
Just straight after Makerere.
No, I was married. I married after second year. After second year, we would marry, we would wed after second year. But for you people, you are young now. I mean, things have changed. When you are even in first year, they were marrying people after HSC. The girls had to marry. When you are 18, they say, what is she doing? When you are 19, she's too old. When you knock 20, that one is finished. Those are gone things. You people, you are not going through them. So now, I was already married, so I was at the institute teaching, but I already knew I need to change this law. So what was very amazing, in 1986, when the NRM came to take over power, they came with on their agenda, as a priority on the agenda. The woman question was on the agenda, because they came saying, women, where are you? Women, where are you? My goodness. I can never, yes, I condemn and I criticize what the current government of NRM party is doing. But NRM movement, the movement, what we did, if they had not come, I'm telling you, when I talk like that, the noob doesn't want to hear me, but I tell them the truth. Because if the NRM government had not come, the women would not have come out onto the public platform. Because even during Okero, after overthrowing Amin, we had joined the women's movement. We were trying to establish the women's movement. We had put this organization called Action for Development, and we came with vibrancy. We wanted to fight for women. You know what happened? Hey, when we wanted to go and demonstrate, they planned that they would send the army, they would rape us on the city square, that the Constitution Square. Somebody tipped us at night that you don't go there, they have planned to rape you. And so we didn't go straight to the square, but we went along the shops, see whether that was true. And we found the army there waiting to, if we went, they would have raped us. So in the meantime, when Museveni came in with the woman question high up on the agenda, women, where are you? Secretary for Women, Directorate for Women. Woo, me, I was like, when you have locked a dog in a cage for a long time, and you open the cage, the weight can run out. That's how I ran out. That's why you see who I am. Imagine ever since 9 years, you want to come out and plead for these women. And oh my God, they said, where are you? I was unstoppable. I went on the public platform, and up to now, I am not stoppable.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Honorable. We have to go into a break right now, then we'll continue with your political journey.
Okay.
We'll be right back after this break. My name is Pastor Joy Kihuguru, and you're still watching Soaring with Eagles. Our guest today is Honorable Dr. Miria Matembe, a lawyer by profession and a politician by calling. Now, she was telling us before we went into the break about her education background, how she managed to get a bursary and go through secondary school. And then now, she's now a lawyer, and also telling us about now her political space. Now, tell us more about...
Yes, now having come out like that dog out of a cage, and I made sure I had to buy the space.
Yes.
And by the time that the NRM took over power, the first International Women's Conference of the world was held in Kenya in 1985. We didn't go there, of course. The politics here, unless you were in Obote's government and supporting Obote's government, you didn't just go. So some people went there, and if you want to know the government was overthrown when the conference was going on, and some women came from there. They came burning with a passion to struggle for these women called issues. They found that because of our dictatorship, for us, we just did not have, we were not participating at all in this women's movement. So it was not there at all here in Uganda. Although there was FIDA, Women Lawyers Association, but they used to make dinner. So for me, I used not to go. I didn't have enough money to pay for their dinner. But I don't know what other organization, Amin had banned women non-governmental organizations, and they had become, he had established the National Council of Women to take over all these organizations within the Ministry of Culture. So there was nowhere women could organize or mobilize themselves. So when these women came from Nairobi, they were at Makerere, many of them. They were inspired by what was going on there at the conference. But they said, what do? We want also to organize ourselves. And then in the meantime, there is the woman is now the vice chancellor, I think, Kabare University, Joy Kwesiga. She told them, there is a lawyer I know, because I was a friend of her sister. We studied together in HSC. There is a lawyer I know who can guide us here on whether we can establish an NGO, because they could be arrested. So when they came and found me at the Chartered Institute of Bankers, and they told me that they wanted come and help us. When I went to this meeting at Makerere, and I found what they were talking, I didn't understand. They were talking of equality, what? I mean, that was not my language. Me, I wanted to fight for women, for their rights. I didn't know it is called equality, whatever. But when I heard them talking, I said, this is where I belong. I want to be with these women. So when they asked me what can they do, I said, yes, we can form an organization, because according to law, if you form a company, it is different from its members. So I told them, let us form a company limited by guarantee, because it will be, they will not look at the members seeing they are women, they will look at the company. You can avoid the law, not evade it, but you can avoid it. So we avoided that law by establishing a company limited by guarantee in the name of Action for Development. They had wanted to see action by women in line of development, not just being their mothers' union and so on. They wanted action for women to participate in development of this nation. But even that's when we had come up, when they wanted to rape us. So that's why I was telling you that if NRM had not come, whatever vigor we had wouldn't change anything. So when we were Action for Development had just formed in 1985, then in 1986, NRM comes in. So I get out of this cage when I was already appointed, because I helped them to work out the constitution, and they elected me as the chairperson of legal. So when NRM came, I was already now working with those things of Action for Development, but the space was not there. And then NRM comes in and they say, where are you? Oh, I ran. I went in our village when they were electing LC1. I was first elected as the secretary for the general village, the general secretary. Then when we went on to the parish, they told me, you get to the women's seat, that's when you access women. So I was elected secretary for women affairs, the Ruzira parish. And then shortly, I was elected the vice chairperson of the Nakawa division, the whole division in the whole country. I was the first only woman to hold a position which was not called for women, because the other positions were like as if they are for men, but I got it. By then, Vice President Kazwe used to be my university mate, and we are friends. So for her, she came from Bugorobi, I came from Rizira. We went to Nakawa division, And then we campaigned, and I remember because with the one who said, but you people, you give us another position also. And then I contested for vice chairperson Naka division, and the honorable because we became the secretary for women's affairs in Nakawa division. And then that's how we moved. I tell you, Nakawa division was 17 parishes. By that time we went to the district where I was elected the secretary for mass mobilization and education, Kampala district, the whole of Kampala, Rubaga, Machinde, where. And then, that vibrancy was fire. It was fire. For the first time, the women issues were being discussed on a public platform. I was deciding cases. I was sorting the violence. It was too much. And by then, before even NRM was extended the parliament, I had covered almost Uganda. They would hear my name. They call me to Ruwero. They call me to Mubende. They call me to Mbarara. They call me. It was like crazy. And I was saying things which were never meant to be said publicly. So that is, when you see me, I'm not the one who started the women's movement. But one special thing about me is that for me, that was my God's purpose for my life. To boldly and fearlessly articulating the issues of inequalities, gender inequalities, treating women as not full human beings in their own right, and treating them like nobodies, as if they don't matter. No. So that is what I ran with. And then down the road, in 1989, this is between 1886 and 1899, 3 years, he decided to enlarge Parliament, the Parliament of Uganda, which was called NRC. And of course, I went to Mbarara. The people of Mbarara came and called me, come and contest in Mbarara. That is when one district woman representative was created. By then, the districts were 39. So I went and contested from Mbarara. Honorable Bokas were contested from Kampala, and so we ended up in Parliament. So that's how I now reached Parliament. Now, for me, one good thing that I say when I consider myself as a fully accomplished woman of destiny, because you can imagine, as a child, I want to study law and fight for women. And I was looking for a platform where I could, by the way, stand and fight and call the women in the village. I thought village of Rutoma. Little did I know that one day I would stand at a national platform, that I would go to a regional platform, standing at the African in Nigeria, in Abuja, speaking on behalf of the African women. And then finally, I found myself standing at an international platform at the Beijing conference, when I was given an opportunity in 1995 to speak to the plenary, and my topic was the strategies for increasing women's participation in politics and governance. And when I stood up on that international platform and I spoke, I got an overwhelming standing ovation. And I said, what do I need in life? Joy, when you see me satisfied, God did it all. I wanted to study law, and if I find it is not saying the right thing, I wanted to go to Parliament and say the right thing. Little did I know that I would be one of the 21 member commission that was going to make the fundamental law of the land the Constitution of Uganda. I was thinking of making ordinary laws. Then in 1989, after I had been elected to be a member of Parliament, I was appointed as one of the 21 member commission to make the Constitution of Uganda, and we are only 2 women. Justice Mary Maituma and myself. The men were 19. But I can assure you, by the time we finished that constitution, those 19 men were all with us on the issue of the gender issues within the constitution. And I want to tell you, I traversed this country. It's a long story. I'm so glad that I documented all this in my first publication, my first autobiography, which is entitled Gender, Politics and Constitution Making in Uganda. That is the first book I wrote. And the reason I wrote that book is that when I was, in 1997, when I was in UK, I went to study for my master's degree. I wanted to study and see how I can use law to develop women. I wanted to use it to fight for their rights. I studied the LLB. Then I wanted to see how I can use law for the development of women. So I went to University of Warwick to study my master's degree in law and development. Unfortunately, I found that law is more oppressive than deliberative when it comes to women. When it comes to women, law is more oppressive than being deliberative to them. And I came out a bit disappointed, but I came out with a master's degree. So I imagine I wanted to go for one degree. My desire, get a degree, my desire, make the law. Little did I know that now the law which I would make was the fundamental law of the land. And I am telling you, the impact, my influence on that constitution. If you ask Odochi, just Odochi, the secretary died, but if she was here, he would tell you. I remember one day I told the chairman, if you don't put that provision in that constitution, I will stand up on top of this table and shout loud. And I remember Professor Makubia said, Mr. Chairman, you know this woman, and if I stood on top of the table, you know what it would mean when I'm in this dress. So they said, oh, please save us, help us. So we did the constitution. We made it so gender responsive and gender interest and responsive in that constitution. Make sure we gave the position of women. We made sure we did all this. And another thing, little did I know that actually, yes, I'll make that constitution and ensure that the rights of women are all contained in that constitution. And then when I wrote this book, what challenged me to write the book? When I was studying my master's degree in University of Warwick, I wanted to write about women's participation in politics in Uganda, to see how they had been participating. I couldn't find any woman. No woman had written anything, not even essays, not even what. And yet there were two women. One was in Tripoli, one was an American woman, and another one was a Tanzanian, also white woman. They were the ones writing about women of Uganda. And yet there was the late Joyce Mpanga, Florence Rubega, there was Sarantiro, there was Rod Karema. All these had participated even at independence, but they had not written anything. And so I said, it is just, I'm the one who provoked. I kept telling them, you must write. Mine came out 2002. I said, this time I'm participating in this movement. Why should anybody else write about me? I'm the one, I'm seeing what is going on. So I wrote, by the way, apart from Sylvia Tamari, who had written a book entitled When the Chicken Begin to Crawl, not the cock. When the chicken begin to crawl. Sylvia Tamari wrote that. That is the first book written, I think, by a woman in this country, When the Chicken Begin to Crawl. So she wrote it before I wrote. But then for me, when I finished that degree, I said I must document the women's movement, how we have seen it. In those 1989, 1990, 1986, No, like you've 10 years, like you see 10 years, 1986 to 002, I think was already 10 years. It was even more because it was 1986 to 1996 when we made the new constitution in 19. Within 10 years, let me tell you, within 10 years of my getting out of that cave, I had made tremendous impact. And then within 13 years, because in 1989, that's when I got an international award as one of 100 women heroines of the world. And this, it was between 1898 to 1998, 100 years. And for me, within that period, I had just worked for 13 years, yet I was nominated among those who had worked for those 100 years. Out of those 100 years, me, I had been on the public platform for only 13 years. You can see, that shows you the energy, the effort, the determination, the unwavering commitment.
We're so proud of you.
To achieve what I achieved. Imagine I had wanted to be a member of Uganda Parliament. I ended up being a member, a founding member of the Pan-African Parliament of Uganda. And then extra was the minister, the first minister for ethics and integrity. You know, there was this song which used to sing that I have already received all I wanted, the other is God's blessing on me. Not only did I realize what I dreamed to realize, but I got much more by the grace and blessings of God.
How has your faith played a role? We don't really have much time, but how has your faith played?
This is the faith. One thing I want to say, since we have a short time, I want to say that each of us is created for a purpose. And blessed are those who, even when they are not saved, they get into that purpose and serve it. Because for me, I didn't even know that what I was doing was God's purpose for my life until on the day when President Museveni and I conflicted with one another. When he wanted to remove the term limit, the presidential term limit at Chankwan's retreat. And I stood up and faced him right into his face. And I told him, it is wrong. I said, it is wrong. I'm your minister for ethics and integrity. And I want to tell you that to want to tamper and manipulate our constitution is corruption. And I cannot support you. Oh, I was so heartbroken. I said, I've been working so hard. And me, when I was advising him not to remove the term limit, I was in sympathy. I was in love. I was advising in love. I was saying, no, you've done so great work. Please don't kill your legacy. So when I went to sleep, I was very angry. I said, when we reach Kampala, I will resign. I will tender my resignation and say goodbye. And I don't think that night I prayed. But in the morning, when I went to my quiet time, I will take you back about my faith. But see, I want people to hear this now, before the time goes. In the morning, when I went to my quiet time, because I always got my quiet time, when I went to read the scripture, God led me. I had a personal encounter with Jesus Christ. Lord, God led me to scripture in Isaiah chapter 49, verse 1 to 3. And of course it says, I called you, I knew by name, and I called you. And then it says, I gave you a mouth like a sharpened sword. I hid you under the shadow of my hand. I made you into a sharp arrow. I concealed you in my quiver. And I said, you are my servant, Miria, in whom I will reveal my splendor. So don't shut up. Don't step down. Don't feel bad. because you must use your mouth. And I said, what? You know, in that chapter, it was saying, yet I said, I have labored for nothing. I have wasted my energy. That's what I was saying. And yet God was saying, no. From that, I said, oh, kumbe, this mouth is my talent. And then what I've been fighting for using my mouth is my purpose in life. And I said, okay, I'm not resigning. I will move on. And from that time, of course, the next 2 days, 1 week or what, they threw me out of office. But up to now, I'm serving God's purpose. But how did I get to know God? Because I just said, my knowing God, I have written a book. It is entitled Political Evangelism, the joy, the beauty of conversing with God. But I had a personal encounter with Jesus Christ.
That's the most important thing.
A personal encounter. I was in South Africa and he encountered me, but I was seeking him. I wanted to be saved. I had longed to be saved. And then when I was in South Africa, I had gone there, and in the night, I had a personal encounter with Jesus Christ through the word of God. And in this, I will summarize it because it was struggle. I fought with him. I argued until one time he said, go! And I got off my bed and I went to read a scripture which I was struggling, refusing to read. And when I read the scripture, the words were wonderful. He said, as I've been longing to see you as much as you've been longing for me. And I'm here to ensure you that now your name is written in the book of life. You see me here, Joy. For me, my name is written in the book of life because Jesus Christ told it to me personally, and we had an engagement. I said, but I don't want to tell lies. What if I get saved and I lie? He said, don't worry, I will be with you. I will hold you and not desert you. And I said, but I love dancing. What if now, what do I do with dance? I love dancing. Dancing is the reason why the Makerere Christian fellows chased me out of the Christianity, because I was saved long ago, but they chased me away because I used to go dancing. And then he said, you will dance for me. Let me tell you, when you have encounter with Jesus Christ and you have opportunity to have a conversation with him and he answers your questions, whether you walk a journey which is tough, which is difficult, depending and knowing God will never leave you nor forsake you. I'm telling you, 19 years when they chased me, if you know the promises God gave me, she told me that I will never run out of supply. Yes. Because he told me the widow of Belfast, the oil and the flour will never run out. It has never run out. And he told me he will hold me with his righteous hand. And he told me what was challenging me, worldly things. When they chased me, I was quaking, I was feeling bad, thinking I'm going to disappear. Survive actually did not come in. That's why politicians don't want to leave. The significance. Self-significance. What was paining me and disturbing me was, I'm going to disappear in oblivion. I'm going to disappear in oblivion. And it had disturbed me for about 2 months. I was walking in my compound along the way, talking with Jesus, and then I was quaking with this disappear in oblivion. No, he first told me that I was telling him I want to meet the widow of Belfast, because who will supply me? Then one day when I was walking, I said, where is this widow? I can't see this widow. He said, you mean, I heard the voice. You mean you don't see her? I said, where is she? I was walking on the road. Where is she? He said, you have a vehicle, you have fuel, you have your phone, you have airtime, you are eating. I said, hey, the widow meant supply. You know, I didn't know. Some people, God is talking to them, is giving them what they have asked, but they don't know yet. So I was amazed. I said, oh, so it means supply. So I was guaranteed out of supply. And then the next day when I was walking, he told me, remember, the widow had to part with some oil and some what? And so I got my money in an envelope. I took it to the church. I said, look, I'm planting a seed so that the word of God will remain. It has remained forever. Then the disappearing in oblivion. If I was seated in the room there saying now oblivion, then Jesus encountered me and he said, you, if you think that these positions you are holding were the one putting you in limelight, you were mistaken. He told me, who is in you? I'm the one who has been putting you there. And the positions have gone. But me who is in you, I'm still in you. You will never disappear in oblivion. My dear Joy, I have not 19 years ago, I should not be known in any circle at all, but by the grace and promise of God, I have not disappeared in oblivion. The word I want to tell the people listening to me, find your purpose and serve it with a passion and unwavering commitment. Number 2, you need to know that life, real genuine life, does not exist in positions and possessions. Positions and possessions are given to us by God to use them to serve his purpose in service of his people. And we must render such a service that gives him glory. And when we do that, he is the one who rewards us with glorious might. And I want to thank the Lord. He's been so faithful. He's my rock. He's my protector. He's my defender. He is my all. And I fear nobody. These guns, the military, the whatever, because the word of God says that some trust in chariots, some in horses, but the other ones are brought down and fall. For us, we rise up and stand.
Thank you so much, Honorable Dr. Miria Matembe. I know that many people who have been watching this show are blessed by your presence here today. We wish you all the best. We know that God is going to continue to use you in a powerful way.
Sure.
We know that he's going to continue to take you on even bigger platforms.
Oh, yes. Yes. The promise is there. I didn't tell it to you. Yes. When it comes to pass, I will reveal it.
So viewers, would like to thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Pastor Joy Kihuguru. Until next time, may the Lord bless you, expand your territories and borders, lay his hand upon you and keep you far away from evil. Bye-bye.